Welcome back, students, in our this session, and this is your assignment number 2. Already I have given you first assignment in the form of PDF file, and now this is your second assignment, and this is the assignment of our next chapter, that is chapter 2, the kingdom classification. So here we start with our second chapter, kingdom classification. After the drawbacks in two kingdom classification, now there is five kingdom system of classification. Now this five kingdom system of classification was proposed by an American taxonomist, and his name is Robert H. Whittaker, and in 1969 he has proposed a new five kingdom classification of living organisms. So we study here about this five kingdom system of classification. Now the main criteria for classification used by Whittaker include cell structure, that is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. Now children, prokaryotic means the primitive cell which lacks membrane bound organelles and does not possesses a well developed nucleus. So that kind of organism is known as prokaryotic organism, and eukaryotic organism means advanced cell bounded by plasma membrane and has membrane bound organelles. Now, complexity of organisms, that is unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular, you all know that the one having a single cell, and multicellular means the one having many cells. And the mode of nutrition is absorptive, autotrophic, or heterotrophic. Now, absorptive means that in this it is a way of taking the nutrients by organisms that releases certain enzymes in the environment to break down the complex compounds. So this kind of nutrition is known as absorptive nutrition. And autotrophic, you all know that autotrophic is the one which prepare their own food. And heterotrophic also, this also you know. So these are the three modes of nutrition. Now we see the Whittaker five kingdom classification. Now, according to Robert H. Whittaker's, the five kingdom classification is: first is Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Animalia, and kingdom Planetae. The five kingdom classification given by Whittaker is as follows. First, kingdom Monera. They are unicellular prokaryotic organisms such as bacteria, blue-green algae, and mycoplasmas. So all these, they lie under the one kingdom, that is kingdom Monera. Second one is kingdom Protista. Now in this, the unicellular eukaryotic organisms, for example the protozoans and algae, all these, they come under this group, that is kingdom Protista. Now the third one is kingdom Fungi, multicellular eukaryotic organisms having absorptive mode of nutrition, for example all fungi. Now in this, all kind of fungi comes under this one particular group, that is kingdom Fungi. Now we see the fourth group, and that is kingdom Planetae. Multicellular eukaryotic organisms having autotrophic mode of nutrition, for example plants. So the plants, they came under the group kingdom Planetae. Then kingdom Animalia. The fifth classification is kingdom Animalia, and under this, the multicellular eukaryotic organisms having ingestive mode of nutrition, for example animals, they lie under this particular group, and that group is known as kingdom Animalia. Now Whittaker did not include viruses in his scheme of classification. Viruses are considered as connecting links between living and non-living organisms. So these viruses, they are known as the connecting links between the living and the non-living organisms, and they are the package of nucleic acids, DNA or RNA, covered by protein covering. Now we see this. Now, as I said, that viruses, they are not included in this system, in this 5 kingdom of classification system, because they are connecting links between the living and non-living. Now, how we can say this, that the viruses are connecting link between the living and non-living organisms? Just see the first point. They are obligatory parasites and live outside the host cell as inactive non-living biochemicals. So these viruses, they are obligatory parasites and they live outside the host cells and they become inactive and they are non-living biochemicals. Second point is, the body of viruses contains the genetic material DNA or RNA, covered by a proteinaceous covering called capsid enclosing. Now these viruses, they contain the genetic material, that is deoxyribonucleic acid and ribonucleic acid, and they are covered by a proteinaceous covering. That covering is known as capsid. Now see the third point. The viruses infect bacteria, animal cells and plant cells. Now the virus, they are the connecting link between the living and the non-living organisms, and they infect the bacteria, the animal cells as well as the plant cells. Today we study the first group of this 5-system classification, that is Kingdom Monera. Kingdom Monera comprises microscopic unicellular prokaryotic organisms commonly known as bacteria. Now all the bacteria, they came under this one particular group, that is Kingdom Monera. Now they are characterized by the following features. Number 1, Monerans are basically unicellular and the most primitive prokaryotes. Now these monarians, they are basically the unicellular. Unicellular means they are single-celled organisms. Then second point we can see, now here is a picture of bacteria. This bacteria is a unicellular bacteria and it is a prokaryotic bacteria. Now we see the point second. Their body cells do not have well-defined nucleus. Now the bacteria, they do not have a well-defined nucleus. Third point, membrane-bound cell organelles like nucleus, mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum are absent. So these organelles, they are absent in Kingdom Monarians. Number 4, cell wall present. Number 5, mode of nutrition may be autotrophic or heterotrophic. It includes bacteria, blue-green algae or cyanobacteria and mycoplasmas. So these are the examples of this group, Kingdom Monera. Now we see bacteria. First point for bacteria, the bacteria are unicellular microscopic organisms that you all know that we can only identify, we can only see the bacteria with the help of the microscope. Second point is, they lack nuclear membrane, that is they are prokaryotes and chlorophyll. They lack nuclear membrane as well as chlorophyll also. They get their food from the living or dead organic material, that means they are heterotrophic in nature. Then fourth point, cell organelles are absent in bacteria. Now the shapes of bacteria. Bacteria occur in 4 shapes. First is rod shaped or bacilli. For example, Escherichia coli, which lives in the intestine of humans. These may occur as single rods as in E. coli, Lactobacillus and Salmonella typhi, which causes the typhoid fever. So these are the names of few bacteria, and this Escherichia coli bacteria, they live in the intestine of humans. Now these rods may form chains as in Azotobacter. Azotobacter is a bacteria that is known as nitrogen fixing bacteria, and Bacillus anthracis, which causes fever. Now these bacteria, they are responsible for certain kind of feverish diseases. Now the second type of bacteria is the spherical shaped or cocci. They may occur as single cells, in pairs, in chains, or in clusters called staphylococci. They cause bacterial pneumonia. Now these spherical shaped or cocci bacteria, they are found in single cells or in diplococci cells and streptococci or in clusters also, and they are responsible for bacterial pneumonia. Now we see the third kind of bacteria, that is a spiral shaped or spirilla. It is a spiral in shape as in spirillum bacteria. Now the fourth type of bacteria is Vibros. They are comma shaped bacteria as in Vibrio cholera, and it causes cholera. This Vibrio cholera is responsible for cholera disease. Now here you can see the picture of rod-shaped bacteria and the spherical bacteria, that is cocci. Now we see the useful actions of bacteria. Most bacteria are beneficial to other living organisms. Number one, how it is beneficial. Bacteria promote the formation of curd and cheese by the process of fermentation, in which milk sugar lactose is converted into lactic acid by the action of bacteria. This you all know, that bacteria is responsible for making the curd and cheese, and the name of that bacteria is lactobacillus bacteria. This bacteria is responsible for making the cheese as well as curd. So in this way the bacteria is useful for the other living organisms. Second point is bacteria act upon fruit juices to produce vinegar and wines. So it acts upon the fruit juices to convert it into vinegar and into wines. Now bacteria act as natural scavengers since they decompose the organic waste rapidly, and they are useful in the formation of compost and manures. Now this bacteria, we all know, it acts as a natural scavenger and it helps in the decomposition of the waste products. Then next point is bacteria are used to make antibiotic like streptomycin and vitamin B complex tablets. So bacteria is also responsible for making the tablets of vitamin B complex and the antibiotic streptomycin. Some bacteria like Rhizobium, that is found in the nodules of leguminous plants, and Azotobacter, this bacteria is found in the soil and it is known as the nitrogen fixing bacteria. They absorb free nitrogen from air and convert it into nitrates, which are used by the plants. Some useful bacteria live in the large intestine of human beings and produce vitamin C, biotin, and B12. So in this way, the bacteria are very useful for the living organisms. Now we see the harmful actions of bacteria. Now bacteria cause diseases in plants, for example citrus canker, potato scab, leaf spot of cotton. Then diseases like cholera, plague, typhoid, pneumonia, and tuberculosis are caused due to bacteria in human beings. So these are the diseases which are caused because of the bacterial infection. The next point, third point, is bacteria are responsible for spoilage of food, rotting of fruits, vegetables, meat, and etc. Then bacteria like Salmonella and Staphylococci cause food poisoning. So these are the bacteria which are harmful for the human and for the living organisms, as it causes disease, as it causes the food poisoning, as it causes the food and fruit spoilage also. So in this way the bacteria are useful as well as harmful for the living organisms. So with this I'm closing my this session, and soon I upload the next session for you with the next kingdom classification, and that is kingdom protista in our next session. Thank you.